welcome back to my knitting room. I'm Alyssa. I'm Stitches Be Slippin on Instagram, and this is the Stitches Be Slippin knitting podcast. I've tried starting this a few times, but my cat has decided that it's time for her to be in here and like right under my feet and rubbing up against things and knocking them over. So hopefully this one is a good, we can keep going. Yeah, I'm back. It's been a few weeks. A busy couple of weeks. I went back to work. I had been off of work for a few weeks. Before my last podcast, we went to Mexico for a week, so I missed that week of work. And the week before that, my kids had been sick, so I missed a week of work because of that. And then I missed a week of work because of going on holidays. The running joke. Oh, there's Sophie. Say hi, Soph. This is rare. A rare sighting. People don't usually see her. She's scared of everything and everyone. Don't be scratching, please. Sorry. Don't report me to PETA or anything. She likes to scratch. So she has a little bed in the corner she's supposed to do that on. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I went to work. Our running joke is that I'm the world's least reliable employee because I only work 2 days a week. Also, I work at Polka Dot Creek Yarn as a yarn dyer, if you're new here. I only work 2 days a week. And whenever my kids get sick, it's almost always on the days that I have to work, that I go to work. I'm supposed to work. So quite often I miss an entire week of work because I only work for 2 days and they'll be sick for those exact 2 days and then they'll go back to school. And whenever I have holidays, whatever. Anyway, just the running joke is that I'm the least reliable employee. So I was living up to my name and finally got back to work. I've been to work 2 full weeks in a row, so that was good. My first day back to work, I bought 4 skeins of yarn just because I hadn't been there in a while. So I'll show those later. What else? My younger son had a hockey tournament last weekend. If you're not local to Alberta, you won't know what these places I'm talking about, but he had a hockey tournament in Carstairs, Alberta, which is a small town. I think it's only about 4,000 or 5,000 population. So I think the team looked into hotels there, but they were full, or maybe they don't have any hotels. I don't know. So we stayed in the booming metropolis of Balzac, Alberta, which I don't even know if it's an actual town. It might be a little village, but Calgary is the major center, and we have some, I don't know if you call them suburbs, but like kind of towns, cities around that kind of feed into Calgary, and one of them is Airdrie, which is where Polka Dot Creek is, where I work. And in between Airdrie and Calgary is a giant mall called Cross Iron Mills. And this is in Balzac. There's Cross Iron Mills, the big mall. There's a casino. There's a horse racing track. And that's a Costco. And that's pretty much Balzac. And now they have a hotel there. So we stayed at the hotel in Balzac because Carstairs is about an hour drive from where we live in Calgary. So we would have been driving an hour back and forth to each game. There's 4 games. And part of being in a hockey tournament when you're 8 years old is getting to stay in a hotel and going to the pool and playing on the water slide for hours and hours. So we stayed in Balzac. It was actually quite a nice hotel. It was a brand new hotel. Very nice. The pool was good. They had fun. When we were on our way, because we live in Calgary, Balzac, Airdrie, and then Carstairs is farther, our shop, Polka Dot Creek, was having our 2-year anniversary sale. So I wanted to stop in and just say hi to everyone. I'm not usually there on the weekend. I only work during the week when my kids are at school. So I stopped at the shop on the way to stop in and say hi in the anniversary sale. My son didn't want to come in with me. He's a little traumatized from all the yarn stores that I've made him go to in his lifetime. When he was little, my older son was in preschool, I would take my younger son with me to Michael's. This was back when I was like crocheting a lot and buying a lot of Michael's yarn. And I would put him in the shopping cart in the little seat where you have to sit, like feed their legs through, and he would be like prisoner in there, and I would just shop for yarn. And I finally at one point he was like, we were at Michael's and I was putting yarn in it, and he was like, I don't know, he was 3 maybe or 4. I can't remember how old he was. And he just yelled. He was so annoyed. He did not want to be at Michael's anymore. And he yelled as loud as he could, Mom, you have enough yarn. I didn't have enough yarn. But so ever since then, he's not a big fan of going to yarn stores with me. Can you believe it? So he didn't want to come in to work with me when we got there, but I made him come in because it was like -20. I couldn't leave him in the car in the parking lot. So he came in and I introduced him to my friends that I work with, and we were chatting, and then he wanted to go in the back in the dye studio and see where I work and like all the equipment, and he just wanted a little tour. And our teenagers, our high school kids that help us out doing the twisting and the warping and stuff were there, and they were twisting. So I introduced him to them, and they were twisting, and he got to see how we twist the yarn back into a skein. And then he was kind of wandering around the front looking at yarn, and he came over and he's like, "Ooh, I found some yarn I like, Mom." So had to buy him some yarn. Well, buy him yarn for me to make for something for him. But yeah, and so it was our anniversary sale, so there was like cupcakes, and so I got him a cupcake for the road to the hockey tournament, and we're in the van. Yeah, I drive a minivan. I'm a mom. He was eating his cupcake, and he was loving it. It was the best cupcake he ever had in his entire life. There was mini eggs on top of it, and he was like, "We should go to every anniversary sale at your work, Mom." That was, yeah. Your friends are actually pretty nice. Like, yeah. Did you think I worked with monsters? Like, I don't know what he thought, but he was pleasantly surprised with my work. Anyway, that was a lot of rambling. The other thing that's been going on is my older son, also in hockey. Hockey is almost done. We're wrapping up. We're in the middle. My older son is in the middle of playoffs right now. For city playoffs. So it's just like all the teams in his division play against each other to determine who's the champion of the year. His team didn't have the greatest year. They definitely had a lot more losses than wins this year. So we had some low expectations going into playoffs. We were hopeful, but the first game they lost. I wasn't at the first game they lost. I was at my other son's game. And then the second game, which I was at, they were down 2-0, and we were all kind of, and some parents behind me were like, "Oh, well, maybe next year." And this was still in the first period. And I turned around and I said, "The game's not over yet." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, right. And then my son, who I think has scored maybe 2 or 3 goals all season, they were down 2-0. He then proceeded to score 2 goals to tie up the game, and then his team came back and won 5-3, and they have been on an absolute tear ever since. They have won 3 in a row. They eliminated the #1 team in the league. They eliminated 2 other teams in the process. We're just taking the hockey world by storm. Sorry for any of you who do not give a shit about hockey. I actually also don't give a shit about hockey, but I really, really love watching my kids play hockey because they have so much fun. Anyway, next game is on Thursday, so cheer us on Thursday. I don't think I had anything else general to talk about. Sorry, what am I? I'm only 9 minutes in. That's not too bad. It's morning again, so I'm still caffeinating. Okay, I've got a parade of FOs for you. a literal parade. Uh, my cat Sophie is over here. She's like she's just sitting there staring at me and babysitting my whips. So, number one FO I have is sparkles. So, if you watched before, you know that my plan has been to make a sparkly t-shirt type scenario in mohair held double with sparkle sequin yarn for a fancy dinner we're going to in Chicago next month. So I kind of was like thinking and putting my outfit together and thinking about the dress code and talking about it with my husband, and I have the yarn and I was ready to make it, and then I was thinking of putting it with a blazer and some dress pants and making it like a suit, and then I was thinking about it and I realized, the theme is sparkly, slinky, or shiny or whatever, and knowing the people that we're going with, I know they're all going to be showing up in like sparkly, shiny, slinky, like fancy dresses, and I was just a little worried that showing up in like a mohair shirt and a suit, and like Dave and I both showing up in suits and everyone else wearing like, I was just feeling like it wasn't going to be dressy fancy enough. But I still had the yarn and I still was like, had that outfit in my brain, and we had like a 40th birthday for a friend, dinner at a nice restaurant that we had to go to last weekend. So I was like, okay, I'm still gonna do this, but then I changed the plan a little. Well, I completely changed the plan. It was going to be the puff tee, which I showed in my last podcast, but then I decided underneath the blazer, if I made like a shirt with a collar that goes up to here, under my blazer, it just was gonna just be all black, and which is fine, but like I wanted it to be like kind of like elegant, sexy, sort of glammy, sort of. So I decided to make a V-neck instead, and then I was like, it doesn't need to have sleeves because it's going to be under a blazer, so I decided to make a V-neck tank top instead. So that's what I did, and it turned out pretty awesome. Here she is. So you can't tell it's black, obviously. So the neck goes down to here. This is a V-neck. I will put in a picture. Oh, no. I cannot understand where to point. Here, I'll put it over here. I wore it out in my like glam outfit to the dinner, so that's what it looks like on. It's like a V. So this started out, I bought the home camisole tank top pattern from Kadri, and that was kind of my starting off point, and then I modified the shit out of it. So it's supposed to be like a V, so there's the V. It's supposed to be a V in the front and in the back, but I didn't want a V in the back, so and this almost broke my brain. Once I got the front part, I got the straps and the front part done. Then you're supposed to do the straps and the back part and then in the round. So once I got the front part done, then I had to figure out how many stitches to cast on in between. And so I had to doing math is not my favorite. So that almost broke my brain, but I did it. And so I joined the back, and so here's the back. And then, another thing about this pattern is it's in the pattern description, it says it's recommended, I think, 0 to 2 inches of ease. And the picture, I'll put a picture here of the pattern picture. And it says in the pattern description that the model, I think, is wearing, I think it's 2 inches of ease, but it looks like significantly more. And my coworker Krista has made this pattern before, and she said the same thing. Like, she made the size that was recommended for 0 to 2 inches of ease, and it was bigger. Like, it's more, has more ease. It's easier. um, so she recommended I go down a size. So I'm a 34-inch bust, and the size down from there was, I think, 29 and something. So I was a little nervous about that. But it actually ended up pretty good. It still got even a tiny bit more ease than I intended, but it's pretty close. So after I finished, once I got to the underarms and I was knitting in the round, I knitted and kept trying it on until it was like covering the bust. And then I put in, I don't know if you can see there. That's the other problem. It's black, you can't see shit. 4 inches of ribbing here, 1x1 ribbing to kind of cinch it in. It doesn't really look cinched in, but just because I didn't want it to be open and flowy, I wanted it to be tight. So that's what I did. Those are my modifications. I added ribbing to the bottom. I joined the back instead of doing a V in the front and the back. And I also did not do, you're supposed to do pickup stitches all the way around the neck and the armholes, and then bind off with an I-cord. And there was no goddamn way that I was going, well, I like how it looks, and I didn't think it needed the I-cord bind off, but there's no way that I was going to be able to see the stitches to pick them up properly. When I was making this, I couldn't even count my gauge because I can't, it's mohair held double and sequin yarn held throughout, and like I can't even see the stitches. So once I got done there and in the round, and I knew how many stitches because the pattern told me how many stitches I had, then I measured how big it was and divided that and figured out my gauge. Like, I couldn't even see the stitches to figure out my gauge, just to make sure, because I didn't swatch ahead of time, obviously, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to end up crazy huge. I think that's all I had to say about that. I didn't do the I-cord bind off. Yeah, so that was the home camisole, but heavily modified. Oh, and the yarn. I didn't say the yarn. I made it with, I don't have the yarn here with me, but I've showed it on here before. It's the mohair was knitting for Olive, soft silk mohair I think it's called, in the color Licorice. And I held that double, and then also held a strand of sequin yarn throughout. It was called King Cole Cosmos, and the colorway Stargazer, and I ordered that from Crafty Jackalope. The mohair, the knitting for Olive mohair, I ordered from the Knitting Loft in Toronto. So that is that FO. My next FO is pretty freaking awesome, I gotta say. First of all, this is kind of an acquisition, but it also led to this FO, so they're kind of together. I follow We Share Needles podcast and watch all their podcasts. I think they're hilarious, and they stand for all the things that I stand for. And they were doing a Gay Pride giveaway for just for funsies. And this is the bag that they were giving away, and I want it. This is by Stitching Plaza is the name of the maker, and it's just a super, super fun rainbow project bag. I actually really love this bag. I've never had a bag that has the drawstring isn't at the very top. It's like I can't see the stitching, but there's like stitching here, and it's inside that casing. So when you cinch it up, it cinches up like that. I don't know why, but I really, really like it. I haven't had a bag with this type of drawstring before. Anyway, I love it. So when I won the Gay Pride bag, I was determined to find the gayest yarn I possibly could and make the gayest project that I possibly could, because I'm a big supporter of the LGBTQ community. You can look in my, I don't know if it's not going to be in my description box below, but if you go to my like YouTube channel and my bio on there, you can see all the things that I stand for. I didn't really plan what I was going to say about this, but I believe in inclusivity. I believe in equality. I believe in the freedom to do what you want with your body. I believe Black Lives Matter. I believe in gay rights. I believe in transgender rights. I believe I am pro-abortion, pro-choice. If you have gotten this far without knowing that, any of that about me, then you probably aren't following me on Instagram, because I post a lot of things in my stories about all of these things. If you don't believe in any of these things or support any of these things, please feel free to unsubscribe and never watch me again, because these are the things I believe in and I stand for, and that's just me. And this is my YouTube channel, and I can say whatever the hell I want. So this is my gay pride bag. So I remembered after I got this project bag that I had seen a project that Over the Moon Yarn had made. I don't know when it was, a year ago, maybe even more. And Over the Moon Yarn is another local dyer. They live north of me somewhere. Ooh, sorry, I don't know where it is. Close to Edmonton, I think, but maybe not that far north. Anyway, she's a lovely, their mom and daughter, lovely yarn dyers. And they have this great pattern called Say Anything. And it's a toque pattern, hat pattern. And it has charts with the alphabet and numbers and some symbols and things, so you can like chart it out. It has the pattern for how, like the pattern for the toque, but then you can chart it out and make it say whatever you want. So it's Say Anything. And they did one with their own self-striping yarn, and the self-striping yarn is called Love is Love. It's rainbow self-striping, and it's amazing. It is a worsted weight. Well, I don't know if they do it in any other bases, but the one that I bought, and then what you make the toque with, the toque is a worsted weight toque. I'm all over the place here. They made a Love is Love toque, and I loved it and bought the yarn immediately. I had the pattern already, actually. I've made a few of that pattern with other things on it, like one for my husband. I can't remember what it said, and I made another one. I can't remember what that was. Anyway. I loved that. And so when I got my big gay pride bag, I remembered I have this amazing Love is Love yarn, and I decided I was going to copy that pattern, and here it is. It is inside a jar that I usually use to hold. It used to be up there with all my ends from trimming ends off of skeins of yarn. Anyway, this is it. Love is Love. With some hearts. But look at this yarn, you guys. The white is just an undyed skein of worsted yarn that I got at work from Polka Dot Creek. And the self-striping, amazing rainbow yarn is by Over the Moon Yarn. The pattern is also by Over the Moon Yarn. I'm not sure if that's the name on Ravelry, if it's Over the Moon Yarn or if it's their actual name, but I will link it below, and their shop, because they're super fun. She actually just got a new warping mill and was thinking about doing some more self-striping yarn, so maybe she'll make more of this. It's so good. This was so much fun to make. I think I made it in a day and a half. 2 days. It's a lot of ribbing. It's like 6 inches of ribbing, but it's worsted weight, so it goes really fast. And ever since I learned how to knit continental, I actually love ribbing. I love purling now. I hated purling when I was a thrower, when I was throwing with my right hand. But then I learned how to knit continental, and I do the flick, like put the yarn down to purl, and then I actually think it's really fun. So I actually really, really love doing ribbing now and purling. And so yeah, the ribbing didn't take that long. And then the chart took like an hour maybe. And it's awesome. I was feeling down about the world, just the state of everything and all the transphobia that's been in the news lately and all the terrible anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ, like just garbage that all these laws in the States and everything. There's stuff like that up here too. We've been having even just in Calgary, there's been protests at libraries having drag story time, and like it's just it makes me so mad, and it's been so overwhelmingly like all over the internet and it just makes me so mad. And so this just brought me some joy because it was just absolute joy to make, and super fun. Okay, so that is my Love is Love toque. Next is I finished my pink cardigan last night. My husband was out of town last night for a work like retreat type thing, and I stayed up way too late finishing my cardigan. Every time he goes away somewhere, I stay up way too late. Like he is the one that always makes me stop knitting and go to bed, which is a good thing. But I'm always annoyed when he tells me it's time to go to bed because I want to keep knitting, and then when he's not here to tell me to go to bed, so then I just stay up way too late. It is what it is. So this is, I never talked about what I'm wearing. I'll do that after this, sorry. This is my Amapola cardigan. I will put it on. I just finished it last night and it's not blocked. So it fits kind of weird. Ugh. So, and it looks weird over a knitted turtleneck. So, this is her. Now, the thing that is a little wonky is like it folds over where I had to pick up the stitches for the sleeve, so I'm really hoping that I can block that out so it sits nice like that. I'm really pulling on it there, so I'm hoping, because otherwise it just looks weird. Yeah, so this is a pattern called Amapola cardigan by Unit, EWE, Unit in Toronto. It is using Drops Air, that's this one, in the color number 34. And this is Stanisgarn Tin Silk Mohair in the color 3511. It's a great name. So that's holding these two together to make this. It's a really nice, fluffy, super light fabric. It's makes a bulky weight. So that's another reason why it's kind of like all, I'm really hoping that I can block it and make it fit the way that I want it to. Everything else fits, like this fits nice. The back fits nice, like the shoulders fit nice. The sleeves are a bit short, but I was really worried. I was very close to running out of yarn. I thought I was going to have to order more yarn, so I made the sleeves a little short, but I think once I block it, hopefully if I can block it and get the sleeve to sit out like that, then the sleeves will be a little bit longer. I haven't put buttons on it yet either, but I just finished the neckband, button band last night. I actually really enjoyed making this. This is really hot over top of like a bulky weight mohair cardigan over top of a mohair turtleneck. I really enjoyed making this. It knit up really quick because obviously it's a bulky weight, and the yarns are really nice to work with. One thing that I learned new with this pattern, which I really liked, was how the button band is done. Button band, neck band, all the way around. So it started with just at the bottom, you would pick up a stitch here and cast on these stitches, and then you're working back and forth, and every time you come back over here you pick up a stitch and knit it together, so you're like joining as you go, as opposed to like picking up stitches all the way around, which sucks. And it made a really pretty, like almost looks like I raised like a slip stitch almost all the way along. Anyway, it was really, really way more enjoyable than picking up stitches all the way around. I hate picking up stitches. Did you know that? The other thing that I have to say about this sweater is that I'm an idiot, and I did the first sleeve, and then, well, I did the whole body, and then I did the first sleeve, and I went down my needle size to do the ribbing. Like there's a decrease here to make the kind of puffy balloon sleeve. Did the decrease and then went down to the smaller needle size to do my ribbing. And then I was worried about running out of yarn, so I kind of didn't work on it for a little bit. And then I thought, okay, well, while I'm waiting, I called the shop to see if they have more of the same dye lots, and hadn't heard back from them yet. So I was like, well, I might as well. I knew I had enough yarn for one more sleeve. I didn't think I was going to have enough for the second sleeve and the button band. So I was like, well, I'll just cast on the second sleeve and see how far I get. So I cast on the second sleeve. Well, I picked up the stitches and cast on the second sleeve, and I got down to here, and I went to change my needle down to the smaller needle size for the ribbing, and then I realized that I never changed the needles back to the bigger needles for the sleeve after I did the ribbing from the first sleeve. That's not a sleeve. After I did this ribbing, I just put the needles back in the bag and didn't change it back to the bigger body size needles. So this sleeve is knit on a 6.5 millimeter needle. This sleeve is knit on a 5.5 millimeter needle. Am I going to fix that? Am I going to rip it back and redo it? Hell no. It doesn't really make a huge difference. I mean, yeah, it's a full millimeter different size, so the stitches are, nobody will ever know. This, I knit it to the same length, like 12 inches is 12 inches regardless of how big the stitches are. So this sleeve is just going to be a little bit not as wide as this sleeve. So there's like, that's the difference. Nobody will ever know. So I don't care. Yeah, so that's my Amapola cardigan. I'm really hoping that it blocks out to fit the way I want it to, because I'm really excited about it. I really, really, really want to wear it. That project used to be living in a different project bag, but then it got too big and I had to switch. This is a Mrs. Brown's bags project bag with, I don't even know what colorway this is. This is from back in the day when Jody Brown from the Grocery Girls was making tons and tons of project bags. She doesn't really do much of that anymore because now she's a yarn dyer. The only other FO, I guess it's not really a parade of FOs, but it's a significant amount. I mentioned last time that I was going to try and do some experimenting on my Centro. I planned on doing a lot of experimenting on my Centro. Sorry, if you don't know what Centro is, it's over there. It's like a circular knitting machine with 48 needles, so you can crank tubes to make toques and cowls, and I'm sure there's other things. I've only ever made toques with it. But I was gonna do some experimenting with holding different, like I saw on Wool Needles Hands podcast, she had held 3 strands of fingering weight together to make like a worsted weight-ish yarn to crank. I think she made a cowl with it, and that was interesting to me. So I'd been thinking about that, and I was just kind of looking in my stash and figuring out what I was going to do with it. And I had a skein of undyed DK weight yarn from Autumn and Indigo. I had just I had ordered a mystery pack or a couple of mystery packs when she was selling them. And one of the skeins that came was just an undyed 100% superwash merino DK weight yarn. And so I had that in my stash, and I had a leftover skein of sport weight spin cycle yarn that I ordered as a kit to make an all over colorwork sweater, which was just fucking ridiculous because I'm never gonna make an all over colorwork sweater. I don't know what I was thinking. So anyway, I used the one skein of that spin cycle yarn to make a shawl for my sister-in-law for Christmas, and I had one left over, so I didn't know what I was gonna do with it. And then I saw the two of them sitting on my shelf together, and I thought, well, I could hold a DK weight yarn and a fingering / sport weight yarn together, and it's spin cycle, so it's gonna color change. And I was like, I like this idea. So I did that. My son was homesick one day, and I got them out, and I started cranking, and the way the two were, like, when I was holding the yarn, and the way the yarn was feeding into the Centro, the white yarn was dominant. Like, the white yarn was kind of going to the front, and the spin cycle was going to the back, and so it looked like this here, where it's mostly white and you can see a little bit of the color in the back, and that was not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to see the spin cycle yarn. So I did the whole thing and took it off and looked at it and was like, no, I don't like it. So I ripped it all out, and being the moron that I am, ripped it all out together, the two yarns together, and balled it up together, and thought, I can just ball this up together and then crank it. No. It was almost like ripping back. Well, it ripped back fine. It wasn't like mohair that's sticking together like that. But the sport cycle, the spin cycle yarn is thinner, and so it wrapped around tighter, and it just got really, really, really twisted and really, really tight. And it took me and I was like, okay, I gotta separate these back out into two skeins again. And it took me forever to try and pull them apart, and the spin cycle is getting twisted. It's like tight around the... Anyway, I had to enlist my son to help me. It took like an hour and a half. We had winders set up. Oh no. I was gonna sneeze. Is it going away? I think it went away. I had two winders set up so that we could wind each on. Anyway, it took like an hour and a half, and we finally got them all separated. I was halfway across the living room, pulling them open, and he was over there on the winders and pulling them. And he stayed home from school that day because he was sick, and then the next day, or that night, he was like, I want to go to school tomorrow. So, hot tip, if you have any kids at home sick and you really want them to go back to school, make them separate some yarn for you. Anyway, as soon as I got them redone into two balls, I immediately cranked them again, and I thought he was going to kill me. He's like, what? You're just going to... Oh. So I did. Anyway. So, this is kind of more of the idea. This is more of what I was going for with the color changing, and you can see a little bit of the white. It was really hard to keep the spin cycle in the spot that I wanted so that it would be consistent throughout. So down here, the white got in front again. And then here, like I showed you before, there's a band there where it got in the front, and down here. So it was an interesting experiment, and it put me off of doing any other experiments. To be totally honest, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I do really still want to try 3 skeins of fingering, but I need it to just be 3 skeins of fingering that I don't care if, because I'm not going to rip it out if it doesn't work and doesn't look the way I want it to. So what I'm doing now is I'm just grabbing the bottom and pulling it up so that it's doubled. Okay, so like that. Oh, Did you hear that? That was my stomach growling. Hungry. So that's what my toque is going to look like. And once I cinch that up. Oh, it's a little tight. The DK and spin cycle held together made it a little tight. Anyway, not super jazzed about how it turned out, but experiments are fun. You never know what's going to happen. It does look kind of pretty, but like every once in a while where you see, we'll chalk that one up to meh. Now, I have some whips to talk about. Oh, and I forgot to talk about what I'm wearing. I'm just going to double check and make sure that my recording is still working, and I'll come back. Okay, it's working. Good Lord, I'm chatty. That was 40 minutes, and all I did was talk about FOs. So I'm moving on to what I'm wearing. This is the, Elma sweater by Pacific Knot Co. I will put a link down below for the pattern. I was a pattern tester for this pattern, and it is it's honestly a very basic raglan sweater that has, some people call it funnel neck. I call it's pretty much a turtleneck. It's high enough to be called a turtleneck, I think. It's a DK weight pattern, and I, of course, chose to test it in fingering and mohair held together because that's what I do. This yarn is Polka Dot Creek yarn. The fingering weight color is called Greige, and I held it together with mohair in the colorway Chocolate, and it turned out pretty amazing in my opinion. It is really just a very basic sweater. It is so very wearable. This and my no frills hedgehog tweedy no frills sweater that I showed last time are the two sweaters that I reach for the most, by far, hands down. I have plans to make another one of these actually because I love it. It is the perfect fit. It's the perfect amount of ease for me. I actually, when I was testing it, I'm an amazing tester. I used the wrong needle size. And so it turned out with a little bit more ease than the pattern intended, but like everything else, the pattern was fine. Everything, like I was able to test the pattern and give her good feedback. But it actually turned out really well because I absolutely love it. So that's the Elma sweater. I don't have a ton of whips because I just finished that cardigan last night and I made that tank top. That's most of the things that I've been knitting on in the past couple weeks is the sparkly tank top and that cardigan. And then I pumped out that Love is Love toque on the weekend. So I haven't been knitting on a lot else. I did a little bit on my half and half wrap, so I will show you that. This is my project bag. Sorry, I got distracted. This is my project bag from Creek Gardens Crafts on Etsy. Her name is Penny. It's a lovely cork with gold flecks underneath it. And this is my half and half triangles wrap by Pearl Soho. I've shown this a bunch of times on the podcast, so I won't spend a ton of time with it, but I did make some progress. Last time I had just started the second half, and so I haven't done a ton, but that's where I've gotten to. So I still have a lot of short-rowing to do, but it's really nice, easy, mindless knit. My son had hockey practice last night, and so I just sat there and knitted on this for an hour and a half, or an hour and 15 minutes. So that was really nice. The yarn is Pearl Soho Linen Quill. I have here, the first triangle is in this color, Peony Pink, and the second triangle is in this color, Pink Pop. Both linen quill, which is a I do have the tag in here. It's a fine Highland wool, alpaca, and linen blend. Really, really nice yarn. really soft and squishy, and I love it. So, not a ton of progress on that one, but it's a slow, as I've said before, it's a slow go. It's a long-term project because she's big. Okay. This is no, I'll show that one after. I pulled out an old WIP because I finished my cardigan last night at like midnight and then was like, what am I going to work on next? I was not like, I should go to bed. I was like, what am I going to work on next? I need to figure out what I'm going to work on next because I can't go to bed without having a WIP, something planned that I'm going to work on. So I pulled this out. I cast this on, oh God, I don't know, months ago probably, and must have gotten distracted by something else and then just put it down and haven't worked on it again. This is Living In, a Harris Tweed bag by Sew Shannon, S-E-W Shannon, Y-Y-C. I think that's her shop name on Instagram, or on Etsy, as well as her Instagram name. I'll link that below. This is my beautiful mustard colored Harris Tweed bag. Oh, it's gorgeous. I love it. Oh yeah, I showed this on my first podcast, I think. I bought this from Shannon at the Creekside Festival in January. It has bees in it. So cute. So yeah, I cast this on a while ago. This is going to be, it's just a little baby WIP. This is going to be a No Frills cardigan by Petite Knit, which is just a basic raglan stockinette cardigan. What was I just gonna say? Don't know, lost it, it's gone. This yarn is from Polka Dot Creek, and it is fingering weight and mohair held together. Can you believe it? And it is in this colorway Spicy Mustard, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love the construction of this because, as you know, I hate picking up stitches for button bands and neck bands, etc. And this one, you knit the neckband and button band at the same time as the cardigan. Haha! So, she's just a little baby WIP, but she's going to be really pretty. I have 2 skeins of each. The cardigan, the pattern, I'll put the picture up here somewhere. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. The picture in the pattern is for like, what do they call them? Like a duster, like a really, really long cardigan. And I don't want to make a really, really long cardigan. I just want it to be kind of like a regular cardigan length. So I have 2 skeins of each. So once I get the arms off, I'll probably do the sleeves, and then I'll just knit until I run out of yarn, and that's how long it'll be. So I'm excited to get working on this again because it's very pretty. This color is so pretty. Was there anything else I wanted to say about that? No, because I don't really remember. I put it down a long time ago, and then I picked it up, and I have to figure out where I am in the pattern because I didn't like put a star or anything where I left off because I didn't realize I was going to be leaving it off for months. So I have to figure out where I am in there. I'm just basically building the raglan increases and stuff at the moment. So that is exciting. And then I have I would probably call this a micro WIP because it's not even fully cast on yet, but I had a doctor's appointment this morning and I had this with me, and so I started casting it on, and then the doctor had the nerve of like coming in right away. Like, you go to the doctor's office and you don't have anything, if you forget your knitting, then you sit there and wait for like half an hour for the doctor to come in. But you bring your WIP and you're like, I'm going to cast on, I'm going to get a few rows done before the doctor comes in. Nope. I got this far into casting on and she came in. Which is good. That's really nice. But I was also kind of annoyed. Like, I'm knitting here. Anyway, so this is going to be a Manhattan hat bulky by Tori Knits. Tori Knits NYC. Her name is Tori Yu. She has lots of, the Manhattan hat is a very popular pattern of hers. She has, I think there's 3 different versions. One's a fingering weight, one's a, I don't know what the middle one is. And then the bulky one came out recently. So I'm holding 2 strands of worsted together with a strand of mohair. Shocker. So this yarn is yarn that I bought. Do I still need this? No. I bought this yarn at Knit City Mini in Vancouver in, what year would that have been? Was it 2020 or 2021? 21, I think. When things were starting to reopen, and they had a smaller version of Knit City in Vancouver. So it was like half the number of vendors. We had, I think it was like you had to buy timed tickets, so you could only be in for so long, so they could only sell so many tickets to keep the numbers down, etc., etc. And I found this yarn there. I bought a weird amount of this yarn, so that's why I'm making a toque with it. My original idea for this yarn was I was going to make an Earth and Air sweater top by James and Watts. I'll put a picture of that here. It's a brioche, kind of like tee, I guess you would call it, and you use, it's like a 2-color brioche, except for it's 2 different weights. So it's worsted weight as 1 strand and mohair as the back strand. I don't know how we, anyway. So it's calls for very low yardage, like 2 skeins of worsted and 1 skein of mohair for my size. And so that's what I bought. And then I started making that a while ago, like maybe a month or 2 ago. I started working on it and hated it. Like, just hated, like, I love fingering mohair held together. I don't love single ply, like single strand of mohair, I've discovered. So it was like doing brioche with worsted and mohair, and it was fiddly. And like, I like doing brioche. I find it very meditative and relaxing, but it was not enjoyable. So I ripped it out, and then I was like, what am I going to do with 2 skeins of worsted and 1 skein of mohair? And then this bulky weight hat pattern came out, and I thought that is what I should make with it. So here are my colors, and this is the worsted weight, and this is the mohair. So it's going to be beautiful. Blushy pink, blushy sandy pink. Also, shocker, I'm very consistent, aren't I? I like holding things with mohair. I like blushy pink. Those are pretty much all the things you need to know about me. The yarn dyer is called Sunday Fiber Co. She is like an adorable, adorable human being. She, I believe, is in Vancouver and had a baby recently, and is starting, I think, to get back into dyeing. I think she's having an update pretty soon, actually. So I'll link her below. The name of the colorway is called Dusk. And yeah, so the worsted weight is called Home Body Worsted, 4-ply worsted weight, 100% organic merino wool, eco superwash. I don't know what that means. It's a worsted weight. Anyway, and the mohair is pretty standard, 70% mohair, 30% silk, and in the same colorway, Dusk. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I love ribbing now because I'm a continental flicker when I do purling, and the whole thing is 1x1 ribbing, so that'll be fun. And it's a bulky weight, so it's going to be even faster than my Love is Love toque. Now, the exciting part of this project is that it is living in this project bag my mom made me. She watches all my podcasts. Hi, Mom. And she's a quilter and a cross stitcher, as I've mentioned before. And she really likes making bags too. She's always making bags for herself, and she doesn't sell bags or anything, but she likes making them. And when she came to visit, when we were at the Creekside yarn festival. And she bought me that black bag with the, I talked about it in another podcast. She bought me a drawstring bag from Creek Gardens Crafts. And she bought one of her own and took it home and was looking at it. She bought the pattern that Penny bases her project bags on. But Penny has been making these bags for a long time and has made modifications along the way to make the bag that she likes. So Mom bought one of those, and she bought the pattern for the bag, and then this is her first prototype. So she knows I like pink. So she had some pink fabric, and she made this for me. Isn't it adorable? I love it. They came to watch my son play in his first game in his tournament last weekend. So I got to see my mom and dad, and she brought me a present. So that is that. It's great. Drawstring, good size. I've got 3 skeins of yarn in here, lots of room. So sorry you can't have it. It's mine. My mom made it for me. Those are all my whips and FOs. Yes. For acquisitions, I have showed you a few. I showed you my rainbow gay pride bag from Stitchin' Plaza. I don't think, yeah, okay. So, when we went to Polka Dot Creek on our way to the tournament, my son picked out some yarn for himself. These are the colors of his hockey team and my older son's hockey team. So I'm going to be making them a toque, both of them. This is tweed fingering, this one in the color navy. And this is a hat set, so it comes with a pom-pom, which is perfect. And then he picked this out. This is a worsted weight mini, so I'm going to be holding the fingering tweed double. And then I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this, stripes or something, because these are the colors of their hockey team. So I have 2 of those minis because I'm going to be making 2 of these toques. And then I had to get an extra pom-pom for the second toque. So that's what he picked out for himself. I'm thinking of maybe doing another Say Anything hat, like my Love is Love hat, and just putting like their team name is the Hawks. So I think maybe I might do like a Go Hawks Go or something, something along those lines. My younger son, his hockey team, they have a team mascot. They call him Blue, and it's like a stuffed puppy dog, basically. And every ice time, somebody wins it, like for the Heart and Hustle or player of the game. They do it at practice too, so it's just like whoever is working really hard and listening and whatever that gets blue that day. And so one day, my son got blue because he was working really hard, and we had him. I think it was like over a weekend, so we had him for a while. So I made him a sweater. Because people had been adding, like, somebody put a bandana on him, and somebody gave him like a dog collar. One of the girls on the team made, like, those little plastic loops that you can make bracelets with. Made him a necklace, and somebody put sunglasses on him. Those didn't last very long. They got broken right away. And so I decided I was going to knit him a sweater. So I knit him a sweater. I'll put in a picture, or I think I have a video maybe. I don't know if I can insert a video, but I'll try. It was really cute. It says Go Hawks Go on it, and it was really cool. The kids lost their mind when we brought Blue back with a sweater on it that said Go Hawks Go. They thought that was amazing. So my other main acquisition, oh yeah, I got that bag from my mom. I got the Stitching Plaza bag, the Gay Pride bag, when I went back to work after I had been away for kid sickness and Mexico. I bought 4 skeins of yarn. This is a new color. This is a new tonal. It is like a new permanent addition to our tonal lineup. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is, I'm not sure if it's coming entire, it's pretty close. It's called Eucalyptus. It's like a grayish green. It is just like, I think we mixed a green and a gray together to make this color. I actually wasn't there when they made this color one day. I work on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we dye Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. So I'm not there on the Tuesdays when they're dyeing. And I came in on a Wednesday, and this was hanging on the racks, and I went, oh, what is that? It is absolutely gorgeous. And then this is what it looks like on mohair. So I immediately had to purchase these. Like I said, whenever I have something and want like the mohair and fingering, 2 skeins of each is going to be enough for me. This top that I'm wearing was even less than 2 skeins of each for me. So I do have a plan for this, though. I bought it without a plan, and then remembered a project that I have saved in my million tabs that are open on my phone. Does anybody else do that? I like I've mentioned before, have ADHD, and if I like close it, I'll completely forget about it. So whenever I find a project that I like, I open it on Ravelry in my tabs on my phone, and then I just keep it so I will remember it. I don't actually use Ravelry and like make lists and queues like people who are super organized do. I don't do that. I just keep a million tabs open on my phone, and then I go back and look at them, and I'm like, oh yeah, that would be perfect for this. So it works. My plan, if you know me, and if I have the yarn long enough, my plan will change. I quite frequently like buy a sweater quantity of yarn, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to make with it. And then if I don't make it with it right away, then the plan will change. And I've had, that one right there, the mustardy, coppery, whatever you want to call that. I think I've probably had 10 different sweaters in mind for that sweater quantity just because I haven't made it yet. So for these gorgeous beautiful yarns, I'm going to make, it's called Gustav, and it's by Aurelie. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Tixier. I'm assuming it's a French name because her name is Aurelie. So I'll just put the link down below to the pattern, and I'll put a picture up here. It's a really beautiful, it is a basic raglan stockinette, nothing crazy and fancy, but it has like a button placket, like a deep button here, so you can it's sort of like a Henley style, I guess you would call it. Beautiful. So that, I think, is my plan for these. Don't know when that's going to happen, but that's the plan. And I just have one other thing. This is a funny story. So I've shown bags by Her Leather Co. before. Her name is Alyssa. She's a local leather bag maker. She makes absolutely gorgeous bags. Perfect project bags that are the perfect size, and they're leather and they're sturdy, so they stay open when you're knitting with them, and they're some of my favorite project bags. I have 2 kind of aging whips over there, living in those at the moment. But she was at the Creekside Festival in January, and she had been previewing some items on Instagram, and I saw she was making little notions pouches, like little zipper pouches, and there was one that really caught my eye. It was like a navy color with a bright pink zipper, and I said, Alyssa, can you put that aside for me? I will pay you for it right now if you want, or I will just come and pay you for it before the show opens, before the Creekside Festival opens. And she said, no worries, I'll put it aside for you. So as soon as we were done setting up our booth before the show opened, I beelined over there and bought it from her immediately. And then as I was kind of wandering around checking out all the booths before the show opened, I must have put it down somewhere. Like I said, ADHD, if I put something down and then I just completely forget about it. So I must have put it down at someone's booth or something like that. But yeah, lost it immediately. I looked for it all day at the festival. It wasn't in any of my bags. nobody turned it into the lost and found, so I think somebody must have just kind of picked it up and took it for themselves, I think. None of the vendors contacted the organizers to say that they had found this at their booth. Nothing. So I think somebody got a free zipper bag on me, but I told Alyssa about it, and she felt really bad for me. I don't know why, because I'm an idiot and it's completely my fault. And then she followed up with me a few weeks ago and said, "Did you ever find that zipper pouch?" And I said, "No, nobody ever turned it in. Nobody said, like, nothing. It was gone. It's gone." And she was like, "Oh, that's too bad." And then a few days later, this arrived in the mail. She said she was making stock for a show she was doing coming up, and she remembered that I had bought this and that I had lost it, and she made me another one. So please go check out her Leather Co. She has her own website. She makes beautiful leather items. She has, like, I've bought leather bookmarks from her. She makes these really cute little clips, so like cord clips, so that you can, like, your oh my god, yeah, like earphone wires. My brain's not making words. So you can clip them so that they're not all tangled everywhere. You can use them for needle cables, like clip them to, anyway. Go check out her website. She has lots of really beautiful, beautiful handmade leather items. And this is just so cute. Like, the combo of the navy blue and the pink is so awesome. So thank you, Alyssa, for being so kind. You didn't have to make me another one. It was totally me being an idiot and losing stuff, and thank you. Thank you. So, the only other things that I have acquired, there's only one other thing that I've acquired, and it's not yarn related, but I think it's pretty awesome, so I'm going to show it to you anyway. I had an eye exam last week, my regularly scheduled eye exam, and I was trying on glasses. My prescription changed a little bit, so I was trying on glasses in the glasses store, and I was trying on these ones that are like, like sort of like the old man, not old man, sorry, Dad, the like double bridge sort of glasses that men used to wear in like 70s and 80s kind of thing, and I was trying them on, and I was like, I like these, and then I was thinking to myself, my dad used to wear glasses like this for decades. And so I went home and I texted my mom and dad, and I said, "Do you still have those old wire rim glasses that you used to wear?" And he still had them, because he just still had them. I don't know why. Maybe in case his new glasses break or something. He hasn't worn these in 20 years probably. Anyway, he had them, and he brought them when we met up at my son's tournament, and I took them to the glasses store and had my prescription put in, and here they are. Right? They're a little wide, but I think they're pretty fun. They are back in style. I've seen a lot of people wearing glasses like this. I hope I don't look like Jeffrey Dahmer, but now that that's in your head, I probably do. Anyway, I think they're fun, and it's so cool that these are my dad's glasses from the 70s and the 80s. I don't know. I just think it's really cool. There's something that I keep meaning to say, and it keeps leaving my head, and then it comes back, and then it leaves again. It's gone now. Try to chase it, and it just runs farther away. Yeah, I just really like them. It's really cool that I'm wearing my dad's glasses. I don't have a thing from my knitting room today. I couldn't decide what. I have a lot of things in my knitting room, so I just wasn't organized enough today to decide. I did put a question thing on Instagram a few days ago asking if anyone had any questions, so I think I'll do that instead of things from my knitting room today. I had a few questions, which was kind of nice. Someone asked what I I studied in school and what I did for work before I started working at Polka Dot Creek. I did not study yarn dyeing in university. That would be really cool if you could, though. That'd be really cool. Um, I majored in Spanish in university. I think I mentioned that once before, but I think that was the episode that I recorded that had no sound, so you haven't seen that. So I majored in Spanish in university. When I was in junior high or high school, a girl moved to my school from Guatemala. Her and her family moved to this small town that I grew up in, and we instantly became friends, and we were friends for quite a while. And I went with her to Guatemala over the summer one year between, I don't know, I think it was between grade 10 and grade 11, grade 9 and grade 10. Anyway, I went to Guatemala with her and her family for 6 weeks and just absolutely fell in love with the culture and the people and the language. And I started taking Spanish in school instead of French. They let me do Spanish by correspondence. I would sit in the back of the French class and do my Spanish by correspondence. I think I did mention this before. I can't remember if it was the one that that didn't work or not. Anyway, so then I majored in Spanish in university. My dream job was to become an interpreter at the United Nations. That was like my ultimate dream goal. Yeah, and so I majored in Spanish. I have a degree in Spanish. I was fully fluent when I graduated university, which was over 20 years ago now. So I still have Spanish in my brain, and like it's locked away in there somewhere. I struggle to put sentences and stuff together now. Like it's been so long. It's very rusty. I still have it all in there. Every once in a while I have a dream in Spanish, which is really cool. Cause so like it's in there, it's locked away. I just need the key. But yeah, my kids are both in Spanish bilingual school, and my husband has been learning Spanish since we met because he thought it was pretty cool that I could speak Spanish. And yeah, so we like going to Spanish-speaking countries when we travel. We've been to Spain a few times, Mexico. And anyway, yeah, I majored in Spanish, have a Spanish degree, and then life got in the way. Yeah, life got in the way, and I didn't make it to becoming an interpreter. I eventually got into working in law firms. My mom was a legal assistant after I graduated from high school. My mom actually went to college at the same time as me and my brother. She was a stay-at-home mom the whole time we were in school, and then she decided to go back to work once we had graduated. So she went back to college and became a legal assistant. And then I had a useless Spanish degree, and she got me a job in one of her law firms just as a receptionist, and I liked it, and it kept going. I became a legal assistant and worked in law firms for quite a few years. And then one of the lawyers that I worked for moved in-house to be in-house counsel at an oil and gas company here in Calgary. And so I moved with him and was his executive assistant. He was one of the senior vice presidents at the company, and so I was his executive assistant. And then I got pregnant with my oldest son and just never went back because I was not passionate about office administration. So I was lucky enough that my husband has a great job and could support us without me having to go back. So that was awesome. And then I had another kid, and then I started knitting, and then I started being interested in yarn and following people on Instagram, and then ended up begging Shelly for a job when she opened up her shop, and that is the full circle. Yeah, and then there was another comment that said, not a question, but I love all the swear words that sneak into your videos, so thank you. I like to be a little spicy. Yeah, if you ever came to work with me, there's a lot of, we like to vent and get out our frustrations, and because there's nobody else there, it's just us in the back dying. Like, we close the door so customers can't hear us, and there's a lot of spicy language in the back. What else? What other questions? There's a couple questions about my favorite sweater gauge, like favorite gauge to knit sweaters, and my favorite kinds of yarn to knit with. And that's kind of, they're two separate questions, but my answer is pretty much exactly the same. My absolute favorite yarn to knit with is fingering and mohair held together, just like this. My favorite sweater gauge is like a fingering and mohair held together gauge, which is like anywhere between like, I don't know, probably 18 stitches, 16, 18, 20, like in, I know that's a pretty big range, but like anywhere in there. So it's nice and like drapey and not stiff, and just, that's my jam. If I could only knit with one, well, it would be two kinds of yarn, because it would be finger and mohair held together. That is what I would knit with for the rest of my life if I had to. If I only could have one choice, but it would have to be two, because I don't necessarily like fingering weight only. I don't love making fingering weight projects, but I love fingering weight and mohair held together. And the other question was, what kind of technique do I want to learn? And that question was from Karen, my friend, and she knows what kind of technique I want to learn, because we're going to do it together. We're going to take a steeking class when we go to Knit City in Montreal. So thank you, Karen, for your questions. And thank you to the other people who submitted questions too. It was kind of fun. Now you know a little bit more about me. And I think I've talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna cut it before I start rambling even more. Thank you for coming to visit with me today. I feel like it was kind of, it was okay. A little on the boring side, but they can all be good ones, right? Anyway, thanks for sticking around, and thank you for watching all my videos. I actually have some new fans. My brother discovered my podcast after my last episode and watched all 3 of them, and then called me and was like, "You're great, I loved them." He doesn't knit, he doesn't know anything about knitting, and he just loved watching them. He said he watches a lot of YouTube and he knows when people are good and when people suck, and he said I don't suck, so that's nice. So I hope you enjoyed this, Darren, and my brother's kiddo is going to work on making me a logo, so that will be fun. We'll see what we can come up with, and other than that, I am just gonna go. I have to go pick up a dress that I'm getting altered. We're going to a fancy gala this weekend in Calgary, and I have bought a neon pink full-length gown. It's fucking amazing. There's one last square for you. Okay, I gotta go do that, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.